outline for our project, we're going to give you some background information on our project specifications and what that entailed, and also some information about fountains and how they first came about and what they're used for in today's society. We're going to go over the engineering design cycle and talk to you about some of our triumphs and failures in working on this project. We'll tell you about what we learned, including working with other people and working in a team, and also what we learned about time management.
Fountains have been used throughout history for a long time. They have been used to transport water into cities for drinking, and also as decoration. There have been different pipes to transport waters into different areas. They used to be made of lead, which is now illegal because of the hazards, and terracotta and wood. The first record of a pump was made by Vesuvius. He recorded that Ctesias of Alexandria invented the pumps. This is important because pumps are widely used today to move water uphill without much energy.
Okay, so the engineering design cycle is 5 parts. The first part is asking. You have to find out what the constraints of the project are, as well as what you need to accomplish with the project. After this, you need to create an idea, something you can use to implement the goal of the project. Basically, you're just coming up with something you can use. From here, you have to plan the project and figure out exactly how you're going to implement it, what you're going to do, what you need to create your project, and how to build it. Once you plan it, you can go ahead and create it. And from here, you're probably going to have to improve it, make some fixes. It's probably not going to work the first time. It's going to be a lot of trial and error. So you're just going to keep improving it until you feel it's what it needs to be and cannot be bettered anymore. In the design process, the first thing you need to do is ask yourself, what are the constraints and what do you need to accomplish? In this specific project, our constraints were we had to have it done by Thanksgiving break in order to present it at the Fed Fair. We also had to keep under the limit of $40. The goal of the project was to create a usable fountain that would continuously flow water with a mechanical pump without us having to do anything once it was turned on. We also needed to keep from splashing water, and we needed to have it done within the time frame.
So for the imagine aspect of the design cycle, you have to come up with the idea and what you want to do with the project. Initially, I came up with something that had to do with sprinkler heads, and we realized that just wasn't feasible with the budget and with everything else. We had to work together to create something else, and we ended up coming up with something that had to do with frisbees and a lot of materials that we could find around the house that were pretty cheap, so that we wouldn't go over our budget with the pump and the pipes and the other materials that we didn't need to buy.
The next step in the engineering design cycle is planning. This is a sketch of our final project. At first, we drew a sketch and we brainstormed some ideas, but eventually we found out that that wouldn't fully work. So we had to go through and change exactly what we were going to use. At first, we decided to use a hose, but that never actually got implemented into our project.
In the creation process, we actually had to come up with a couple alternative ways to build our project because we didn't have all the tools that we expected we might have, and we didn't exactly know how we wanted to build everything. One of the tools that came really in handy was a Dremel tool, which basically spins various attachments around really fast. We used that to cut the PCB pipe, cut the frisbees, sand some of the frisbees, and do some edging, and also to drill holes. It's pretty useful. Painting rocks individually, tiny rocks, would really suck, so we spread them all out on a mat and sprayed a layer of white spray paint on them, and shuffled them up, and sprayed a layer of red spray paint on them and shuffled them up, and we just kind of repeated that process until all the rocks were red and white.
So after creating the project, we had quite a few issues with it, and we had to make a lot of improvements. The frisbees initially wouldn't attach, and when we tried to, they were too heavy with the water to hold the weight of it, so they were falling off and it wasn't flowing down like it should. So we had to use super glue and some other adhesives to get them to stay, and we also used skewers for supports in order to hold them up.
Another problem we had was with our moving part. we tried to incorporate a water wheel into our design, but the water wheel we ended up building was so heavy that it wouldn't spin. And so we tried to, whittle down the shaft or the axle that was on the water wheel to make it smaller so that it would work better, and that wasn't working. So we used a lubricated latex substance to try and help with the rotation, but that also failed to work. So we actually ended up just using a pinwheel.
During this process, we learned how to use various tools like juice and some other kind of tools. What's more, we learned how to function as a team, and we learned how to manage our time.
We had trouble managing our time. We ended up building our project pretty close to the deadline, and that caused a lot of stress.
We didn't finish it until the last minute, so
yeah, we actually finished it at Fed Day. Someone had hot glue, and we were just gluing it all together. It was pretty great. Our team had a little bit of friction at times. We had to learn how to, move past that and get over that. But, it was a good experience for all of us.